Hello. We are
We're
one
late.
minute. We're
We're
one
not
minute
late. She's
late.
late. I am not late.
We
I was
are
here.
1 minute late.
Not we. There's no we.
That's okay though, because this is all about fun and games. And it's Thursday and we're here. So happy Thursday. Tonight we are talking about rhythm, tempo, and energy. And that is because Herman is the star of this week's YouTube video.
What happened?
You were the star of this week's YouTube video. It was you riding Elior. Do you remember that? You filmed that ages ago.
Oh, yeah. And no, I mean, I remember that happened, but I don't even remember what was on it.
It was about breaking out of the canter.
Oh, because he does that.
Yes.
Yes. And what else happened?
So how do you work on a horse that breaks out of the canter?
Must go forward.
Yes. And
I'm hoping I don't contradict something I said in the video, so because I don't remember anything.
I think though with breaking out of the canter, it's always better if you can fix it before it happens. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. And so, and I don't think horses, because I heard that, oh, don't let them get away with that. They're trying to get over on you. And I don't believe that's true. I think that there's a loss of balance. And so then the horse breaks out of the gate.
Yeah. And I also think you have to take into account the horse's temperament, because Elior, that's the horse that Herman was riding in the YouTube video. He's like pretty chill and laid back. So I think with him, when he breaks, you can correct him a little bit more, versus if it's like a super hot or a green or a young horse, you have to think that it's more like a loss of balance. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, he's more about doing it because he's lazy, not yes.
Yes.
And so the behavior can be the same, but you have to look at the underlying cause and bring your experience to bear and give it your best guess, like you were saying.
Yeah.
So he may be breaking because it's too much effort to listen to you and keep going.
Yeah.
Whereas some other horses, sure, they'll lose the balance and then break.
Yeah. But
so it looks the same, but it comes from a different place.
Right. Because like with your hot mare, right? If she breaks out of the canter, you're going to be like, okay, I need to like rebalance and set it up and take my time.
Get her on four legs because
otherwise it's going to frazzle her. But with Elior, it's a little more like, hey, dude, get going. Like, your job. Elior's he's older. He knows his job. He's been there, done that. So in that situation, you can kind of make like a sharper, like, hey, better. Yes. Correction, versus with a young or a green or a hot horse, you have to give them a bit more time to rebalance and organize and then set it up again.
Yes.
But with both horses, if you can fix it before it happens, that's better, because once they break, it's like, it's too late.
It's too late. And so you've got to be you have to be focused on your seat and that your seat feels the hind legs and what those hind legs are doing. And when there is that slight shift where they come a little behind you, that there's a call to action that you put your legs on.
Yeah. And
now, if you can't feel it, you can't feel it. And then that takes time.
Yeah. But some horses, you will get to the point where you'll be able to feel it just before they break. And so some things you can look for are any change in the tempo. So if your horse is going like canter, 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 and then there's that hesitation, that's when you need to quickly ask for canter, because then they're going to break.
Right. And the other one is the nose starts going away.
They drop
down. When
the
nose goes away, whatever's happening in the front of the
out.
Saddle is happening behind the saddle. So it isn't like the nose is going out and the hind legs aren't.
Yeah. And then it just comes with experience, the more independent that you are with your seat and your legs. And the other thing I see happening a lot in the canter is riders grip with their lower legs. And so they already have their leg clamped on. So they can't really reactivate the canter. Like when they start to feel the horse lose the energy, they're already gripping. So they can't give that little end canter. So it's
if you've got your leg clamped on, it also prevents the horse's ribs from opening. They can't breathe, so they're already constricted.
Yes. So let us know if you watched the YouTube video this week starring Herman and Elior. If not, you want to check it out. And other exciting announcements is we are doing another 5-day riding boot camp. It is starting June 25th. It's going to be epic. It's all new trainings. So I thought maybe we would go through some of the trainings that I'm going to be doing. You can let me know in the chat which one you are most excited about. And please make sure to RSVP for the boot camp. And I think I might commission you to do one of the live trainings with me, because we did it the first boot camp we did.
So you're going to teach me on the horse?
No, we're going to do it together. I think we'll do it here in the office. We could try to do it from the barn, but I'm always skeptical of internet failures. Okay, so here's how the 5-day riding boot camp is going to go. I'm going to be doing a new training every single morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time. The goal is to give you like some like general training principles and ideas, and then to help you narrow that down and understand how to adjust like the formula to suit your particular horse, your particular body, because you're all different and your horses are all different. So day 1 is going to be training principles, my top 5 training principles. Let me know in the chat if you have any ideas what those might be.
Yes, don't use mine.
Day 2 is going to be conformation and personality types. I'm excited about day 2 because I've had to do some research about what are the different personality types of horses.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that.
Yes. So, and that's important because you can't work with all the horses the same. Like you have a training system.
You got to read the room.
Right.
Know your audience.
Yeah. Just like your people, right? Like there are certain ethics, but then you have to like treat people differently based on their personality types.
And not everybody gets along with everybody.
That's true. Although I do believe that really good horsemen are able to adapt and change their training based on the different horses. You know,
provided you come with a universal system and not I do this for this breed, right?
Right.
You have to, there's the principle and then how much.
But I've been thinking a lot about that because when I grew up as a kid and I rode a lot of difficult and problem horses, there wasn't ever the option of just get rid of that horse or it's a bad horse. It was like figure out how to adapt and how to work with that horse's needs.
Yes, I absolutely 100% agree. I just had a different train, and you know the place where I was. Well, that horse is no good, so let's breed it or send it into pasture. And it was
no.
But maybe something's not right here. Right. Anyway,
but I'm grateful for that past. Anyways, okay, so that's day 2. Day 3 is going to be about developing an independent seat. That's the day I think I might commission you. And we're going to do some kind of an independent seat demo.
Here with the saddle on the sawhorse.
Maybe. And then day 4 is going to be creating connection. Day 5 is going to be a riding recipe book. So it's going to be like the cookie recipe for those of you who liked the cookie recipe.
I love the recipe thing. All of my analogies are food.
Yes. So that is the 5-day riding boot camp. Make sure to RSVP. It's happening June 25th to June 30th. There's going to be special evening trainings each night for our stride students. It's going to be epic. Let me know in the chat if you've done boot camp before. If you haven't, they are so much fun. Very exciting. All right. So let's get over to tonight's questions. Our first question is from Leah. She would say, I would like to have some tips or exercises for an even tempo at the walk. My gelding seems to be slow and without impulsion, while my mare likes to brace against the reins and try to break to the trot. Both of them are way more consistent at trot and canter. Okay, that's a good question. So how to maintain tempo at the walk?
Well, what we were just saying earlier, right? So she's perfect example. You've got 2 different types of horses and you still have to, you've got to get the hot horse calmer and the calm horse hotter. So the hotter horse first, right? You want to change the weight in your seat, right? It's a huggy leg and it's not, you don't want to take the reins back and try and pull her to slow her. You want to make her legs slow down because how you breathe and sit heavy and keep your hips going
and bend and turn.
Yeah, that was the follow-up. While you're doing that, then you use the reins to help what you're doing with your seat, but don't try and slow her down with the reins. Now, the one that's slow, I would just go ahead and close your leg and make it trot. You train in the reaction. So you close your leg, he trots, you close your leg, he trots, and then you can just sort of close your leg and make him walk bigger.
Yeah. But because the walk is the only gait that doesn't have impulsion, because for impulsion, you have to have suspension. And so that's why
there's always the foot on the ground at the walk.
It can be really hard to get your horse in front of the leg at the walk. So almost always, if your horse is like, if you feel like you're nagging at the walk, just go to the trot, get your horse going in the trot, and then gradually come back to the walk. All right. Next question. This is a strange question. Sandy says, how do I chew bubblegum and walk? Most of the tempo and rhythm problems stem from me, so I'm correcting me while trying to teach my horse. Any suggestions?
Yes.
Chew bubblegum while you ride?
No, because you want to keep your tongue. That do not
and
chew
not
gum
choke.
and ride. That, unless you want a speech impediment. But it's exactly what she said. It's tough. You have to work on you and teach your horse. And you have to be super patient, because what you described is absolutely true. And that's just the nature of the thing. So go easy on yourself, be patient, and yes, work on yourself and teach your horse.
Yeah. And I think the more time in the saddle, the more time that you spend here learning, watching videos, thinking, visualizing your riding, all of that stuff can really help you. But rhythm is the base of the training scale. So you always start with the rhythm and the counting and feeling the movement. And then whatever you do, whether you're like trying to turn your horse or bend your horse, all of that stuff has to be within the rhythm. All right. Wendy says, sometimes my gelding comes out really fresh and energetic, but still stays round and soft. He's almost behind. The problem I have is that he's responsive and round, but his feet are disconnected. He's staying soft in his face, but his feet keep going faster and not responsive. So it sounds to me like he curls.
And he's out of balance onto the forehand.
And he's just running.
So slow that down, get him balanced, and then grow it.
And how do you slow it down if he's just rushing and like has his head buried?
I would unbury his head. I would lift up his head so that my half vault actually goes back towards the hind leg. And that's the L that I make. And
also, I would use your circle lines, like a spiral in and out. So spiral in and then leg yield out and connect your horse from inside leg to outside rein. But the bending lines, anytime that you turn your horse, it slows your horse down. So yeah. I think of turning as like a half halt, especially on a hot or energetic horse. You never just want to pull on both reins.
You don't on any horse, really.
So if you can turn them and yield them, then that's going to act like a half halt. Okay.
That's what people are commenting on. Spiral circle, make a small circle.
See, they all know us too well because it's Betsy and Hannah and they listen to everything. All right. Next question is Heather's asking tips on how to sit deeper and bring my horse back to me without so much rein.
Hannah said it.
Breathe. We should just bring Hannah and Betsy. You guys are coming on our next Facebook Live.
Because breathing really answers that question. And in that exhale is when you relax and keep your posture. Just do it in a soft way.
And also turning on a circle line. That's what I'm all about. Turn on a smaller circle line. And then remember with your half halts.
And slower posting does work.
So what I do
stirrups and slower posting
is I also think about inside leg to outside rein connection. So then you're just like, you have your horse in the outside rein and they're not just pulling on both reins. And then you can go more half halt soften rather than pulling. Okay. Melinda says, I feel that there are so many things to be doing that I end up doing too many things all at once and my horse ends up all over the place. So how do I quiet myself and still ask whatever it is I need to ask at the moment?
That's the training scale.
Yes.
Because you have to have a priority list. you deal with the biggest stuff and then the next biggest stuff. But that's the training scale. You deal with the biggest issue. And when you've got that, then you move on to the next, because that is a common problem, by the way. It happens frequently. It's like, oh, I got to do this. I got to go do that. And then you've got your foot on the gas pedal the whole time you ride and your horse is spun out of control. So that's to the training scale. And, rhythm is the first thing. And then step by step after that.
Yeah. Rhythm, suppleness, connection, impulsion, straightness, and collection.
But generally the first three are really the biggest things that get in people's way. The other stuff, your horse is pretty much under control and you've got that.
Yeah.
Shall we handle this Tarek's question?
Yes.
So they ask, all right, so my horse behaves really differently when we are home compared to when we compete. He really becomes a different horse. Any advice? And that's road miles. You have to take him off the property and get him more acclimated to, I leave the barn, I come back to the barn. You've got to take him to more places. It's just part of training.
And then also kind of recognize that whatever comes out at the show is a little bit there at home as well. So I feel like going away from home, it magnifies your problems, but they're there at home. So when you're at home, the little things, right? Like if you go to the show and your horse sticks their head straight up in the air and runs around the arena, they do it a little bit at home. It's just not as bad. So when you're at home, then you have your homework and you're like, okay, I have to go home and I have to really work at that. And I also am a big groundwork fan. I like having kind of a groundwork routine that you can do at home with your horse, and then that you can also do when you go away from home at a horse show. And not just crazy lunging, but like purposeful, getting your horse to put their head down, getting your horse to back up, getting your horse to walk right next to you and stop when you stop and back up when you stop, when you back up. If you make sure that you can do that at home and then start with your groundwork routine at the horse show, that's a great way to get your horse kind of focused and on the aids. But yeah, definitely if showing or going to clinics, if that's something that is on your goals list, then you have to make a point of, every month you're going somewhere new. And yeah, it's hard. It's a lot of work to load your horse up and put your horse in the horse trailer and go somewhere. But since they're creatures of habit, they need to kind of understand like, oh, I go in the trailer, I go away from home, I work, I come back home. And then every time you do it, it's not such a big deal for you or for your horse, because let's admit it's a big deal for us too. When I take
it's effort.
And just like familiarity, like the first time I take a horse off property, I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the horse is going to do. But then Kensington, for example, I've had Kensington since he was 5 and he's 10 this year. So I've had him for 5 years. I've probably taken him to 30 horse shows.
Yeah. Plus all the
clinics.
Clinics. That's the word.
So I pretty much know what he's going to be like away from home. And when he was 5, it was a little bit more every show. I was like, I don't know what horse I'm going to have. But now that I know him, I kind of know what he needs. I know how to help him. He trusts me enough. He knows the routine.
That's a big part of it too, because of the routine. He's like, oh, you got me. And you're the center of his universe when you leave.
Yeah.
And yes, Betsy, you're absolutely right. It's so much easier to ride my horse from this chair than the saddle.
Yes.
But that happens a lot with Annabelle's comment. When you take your horse away from home, everything's new. And so they don't get into the routine. The flowers don't scare them. The rocks don't scare them. It's all new. At home, something changes and oh heavens.
Oh, this is a good question. I've noticed my horse's tempo and energy reflects my energy. When I become nervous or I'm approaching a new exercise, my horse becomes nervous. Any suggestions for keeping calm and cool in the saddle?
Meditation?
Breathing.
That's meditative.
What do? You sing.
I sing. And it's funny, you talk about different temperaments, right? Like I had Pee-wee. And for him, I would sing punk rock.
Because he was like lazy.
Oh, no. Pee-wee he was all that in a bag of chips.
Because he was a stallion.
He was a stallion and he would rear and he would come at you. And so for him, we sang punk rock. But It just depends.
Oh,
On the
here's a good
spooky ones
question.
that gallop around, I do Charlie Daniels Band.
But yes, let us know in the chat if you sing and which song you like to sing to your horse. Okay, Wendy says she recently purchased a horse, a thoroughbred who's 15 and competed up to the modified level in eventing. She's very amateur and novice, struggling with keeping his trot and canter steady without overcorrecting. We have a few good strides and then he'll pick up the tempo and in attempting to half halt and rebalance, he'll break down to the walker trot. So she's like overcorrecting. She can't figure out the right amount. Any advice would be great.
Keep doing it. You do too little, you do too much. It's Goldilocks. This bed's too hard. This one's too soft. This one's just right. So if you're doing too much, underwrite it for a while and see what that does and gather information.
I also think that counting is really helpful to find that steady tempo and to be able to fix it sooner, because like if you're going 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, you notice when there's that hesitation and you can fix it, because you don't want to wait. Like if you want to trot at a steady tempo, you don't want to wait till your horse walks and then like, oh shoot, kick them up and then they go like fast trotting and then you're like swinging back and forth. So,
right, you'd like it steadier than that.
Right. So have you ever driven with someone in the car where they go like gas, brakes, gas? Have you ever done that? It's very annoying.
I think I generally don't let other people drive, actually.
Okay. Well, if you've ever experienced that, it's super annoying with someone who's like, go, stop, go, like, or who just like floors it, takes it off. So when you're riding, the same thing, like you want to make little smooth adjustments with the gas pedal. And you're right, with a new horse, you're trying to figure out, like, it's like when you get in a sports car and you touch the gas and you're like zipping off. But the other things I would recommend is riding more from your core and making sure that you're really balanced and centered in your position, because if you're getting tipped around like forward and back in your body, that's also contributing, number one, not being able to feel it when your horse goes faster or slower. And then number two, not being able to be effective with your aids to fix it. And it's funny, my Dream Circle ladies. So Dream Circle is the people that work with us 101. And I've been telling all of them to keep their tummy tight and ride from their core. And they said, well, how can you tell when we're not keeping our tummy tight? And the way I can tell is when you look like a weed blowing in the wind, right? And so like when your horse slows down and you get pitched forward, or when your horse goes and you get like left in the back and you just look very
wobbly.
Yes.
Weedy bulls wobble, but they don't fall down.
Yes. So we don't want you looking like that. We want you looking like you're moving with your horse, but you need to be solid and upright. And so that comes from the stability through your core, that your core is tight and that you're not just wiggly, because if you're wiggly, then every time your horse goes forward or slows down, you're going to go like this.
Absolutely. Don't want to be a tree in the wind.
And your horse doesn't like that either, because if
they hate it, it scares them.
It scares them.
If
you're on a sensitive horse, it will totally freak them out. If you're on like a steady Eddie schoolmaster, they'll just stop.
Or slow down and just bear it. Yeah, it's very unsettling for the horses for you wiggling around up there.
Like Kensington, if you get out of balance on him, he will freak out. So yes.
You've been reading questions, but I've been kind of following along in the comments, and we have many singers.
Oh, what do they sing?
I like Staying Alive. That one was good. Somebody does Country Roads. Take me home, country roads. So, and again, they were saying that they adjusted it for the horses that they were on.
Yeah. But singing it reminds you to breathe. It helps you to feel like a rhythm with your horse and establish that steady tempo and that steady contact. So it's definitely
you know what it also does, which is a huge bonus? It stops your brain from going, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Because your brain is doing something else.
All good things.
All good things.
So try out singing if you haven't done that before next time you get nervous. And even if people think you're strange, well,
I'm used to the people thinking I'm strange. I've gotten used to that over the years. But yeah,
Okay.
it does quiet those other voices in your head that are, because you need to be your own best friend. And that's kind of hard in the saddle sometimes when you start telling yourself scary stories. Because when I tell myself horrible stories, I feel horrible.
Yes. Okay. Next question. Barb says, my horse can be really lazy when the weather gets hot, but when he moves, he has big movement. He has good brakes, but it can be hard to simply steady him into a good tempo, not too fast. Okay, there's a lot of people. Not too fast, not too slow. I'm getting used to the size of his gaits. When I think he has a good canter, my trainer's yelling from the ground that he's hardly cantering and to move him forward. Finding that happy medium, keeping the pace is the challenge. Feeling what is right is something I need to learn, particularly at the canter.
Me too. You should see the lessons I get from my wife that, why aren't you going forward? I'm like, but I'm winning the gold medal in this trot. She's like, why aren't you going forward? Yes, we're all familiar. That I didn't notice. Suzanne says it loosens your jaw when you sing, which would be really, really important.
That's true.
Because that way your horse's jaw won't be tight because you're not all clenchy.
That's true. But I think that back to this topic of like going more forward. So if you're on a horse with big movement, it definitely takes time to get used to that and to get used to what that big canter feels like. And that's something that you think about, okay, like every day I'm going to go more forward and more forward and more forward and more forward. And until you build up that confidence to ride that bigger gait. And then it is, you think you're going forward and then you see a video and you're like, we're not even moving.
I'm going backwards.
So you definitely, that's part of why you have a trainer. That's why you have me yelling at you saying like, you're not even trotting. Your horse is not even tracking up. So please go more forward.
And I'm like, I'm winning the gold medal.
No. And you're like, well, it's not soft enough yet. And I'm like, but you have to ride both things. Like you have to have
because
your horse
you can't
supple,
push on a tense horse.
But you also have to ride forward to get the tension out.
Yes.
Because if you just like aren't going anywhere and you're like supple, well, you're not going to get your horse off that way either.
Right. Because if you can turn the steering wheel all day long, but if you're not moving.
But so I always think of it as like kind of stair stepping of suppleness, get your horse soft, then energy, get more energy. And then when you get more energy, you lose some of the suppleness and softness. And then you have to work on suppleness and softness and then energy and supple and like you have to keep going up that ladder and knowing that you're going to lose a little bit of that. And it's that question of expression versus relaxation. Like if you think about the Grand Prix horses, they have so much energy and expression. And they still have to have relaxation, but we all know that sometimes they lose the relaxation when they get so much expression.
Yes.
So I think that's one of the hardest parts of riding and of dressage is like getting both those things where you have energy, but also.
Yeah, that's that question there. Where's the line of moving forward and collecting the canter? And it forward is part of collected canter.
Right.
The horse is still forward in collected canter. The footfall is the trajectory of the hoof is higher,
shorter and higher,
but it's still the same feeling of in front of your leg. It's just not stepping as far because he's stepping up higher.
Right. And in collected canter, you should always feel medium canter. Your collected canter should feel super energized. It's nothing about slowing down. It's about taking that energy and compressing it so that your horse is like bunny hopping instead of just going like
long linear. It's short up.
Yeah. But
the time in the air of the foot is the same.
Yeah.
The air time is the same. It's just is it long and is it long arc over the ground or a high short arc above the ground?
No. But alrighty. Well, we hope you enjoyed our Q&A of energy and tempo. There were a lot of good questions tonight, I thought.
I made jokes.
Yes.
That was
People
funny.
like your jokes. And your Strides office hours the other night were really good. I was listening in from the other room and I think you're doing a really good job.
Oh, thank you, dear.
You're becoming a great online instructor.
Oh boy.
So make sure to RSVP for boot camp and mark out a little extra time during those 5 days. We're also, Lumiere is sponsoring it, the bridal company. We're giving away 3 bridals
Ooh, I should get
for
in on that. I need a new
people who
bridle for my
are
new horse.
participating. And maybe we'll have you do a live training with me one day, but it should be lots of fun. We're going to go check in on our little puppy. So if you were here last Thursday when we announced the winners, Messi was like destroying the background. Apparently he was very entertaining because he was like laying on his belly, his legs flying up, knocking down the flower pot. But I think he's a little bit under the weather. Last night he was like projectile vomiting in the bed.
Yeah, so he's not great.
But I think he's okay. So we're going to go check in on Messi and have some dinner. And we hope you all have a wonderful evening. And we'll see you
In a
next
week.
Thursday. Good
Bye,
night,
guys.
everyone.